Welcome everyone. Thanks for being with Miss Linda today. We are going to start our journey into color. I believe that colored pencils are the most versatile. They can do a lot of things that other mediums cannot do. Oh, pastels can too, but today it's colored pencils. And there's not a lot of history about when colored pencils came to be. The ancient Greeks and Romans, they made a crayon type pencil using wax, and most likely beeswax, because in ancient times they did not have candle wax and paraffin wax like we do. In the 1920s, the Germans started producing colored pencils for artists. In a colored pencil, there's a binder, which is something that holds something together. It's a glue, so to speak, but it's not the types of glue that we're used to seeing. And then there's pigment, which is another fancy word for color. And there's wood. And then they also add in an extender and fillers. In an extender, you know what that means. It's going to make it last a very long time. And that's just to make the colored pencil last longer than you would, say, a wax crayon made out of beeswax. So when we use them, keep in mind that they are more fragile than a regular pencil. So you need to respect them and, use a light touch in the beginning. We're doing this so that you get to know how to use them, how to feel comfortable with them, and you won't have to worry or think about these things. Now, there are so many different techniques. I have the board behind me that shows you what we're going to be learning later on in our demonstration and our lesson. The first one is back and forth. That's how everyone colors. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You do not lift your pencil off the paper when you're doing it. And you'll get a nice, beautiful, soft, fluent or flowing type color. The next is layering. It's when you put one thing over the other and you change the color every time you put a new color over it. That one's going to be really fun to play with because sometimes you'll be like, whoa, that's like bright turquoise, and you didn't even mean to do it. The best part about color. Then you have blending. This is just taking that layering and smooshing and smudging the colors together. You can use your fingers. You can use the tools that I'm going to show you that we can use. Then we have stippling. And Miss Linda knows that this is the most difficult thing to do because it's a matter of just putting dot after dot after dot. It's actually harder than pointillism because pointillism is usually done with either paint or pastel, and you can get more for your effort. When you're stippling with a pencil, you're making these very small dots, but you'll be able to see that you can create movement. Just think of like a bunch of bees coming out of a hive and moving. The bunch on the bottom are dark and thick, and then they're dispersing, they're going outwards, and then you have this more of the negative space showing through, so you have less color. That was a great analogy. I'm very glad I thought of that. Stippling, not my favorite, but it's something we need to learn to do. Hatching is simply going in one direction, lifting your pencil every single time that you do it, because otherwise it's just another back and forth, and we already did back and forth. Once you've got your hatching down, we're going to do cross hatching. And it's very similar to when we did our contour drawing. In the cross contour, we did the outside and then we created thickness, depth, volume with it. And that's the same thing. You're going in one direction, in another direction. You can turn your paper and go in a third or fourth or fifth. Just remember, every time you apply this pigment, this color, onto the paper, it's going to get deeper and deeper. Whatever's underneath is going to get lost, all right? Keep that in mind. And then my favorite, scrumbling. Not only is the word amazing, and it's just what it sounds like. You're just scrumbling. It's maybe a fancy word for scribbling, but we're going to scrumble. Scrumbling is when you're just going in circles, whether it's loose or tight, whether you use it for the background. Say you've done this beautiful thing and you don't want to just paint one color or draw one color in the background. You're going to be doing your scrumbling, and your scrumbling is going to make you very happy. It's a circular motion. You can do it in oval. As long as it's an organic, loopy, loopy, loopy loop, you're going to get the results that you want. And again, we're practicing, we're learning how to use these. Down the line, I'm going to have you do something spectacular with them, and you'll be so happy that you did do these exercises to become familiar with your colored pencils. All right, you ready? Let's go. We have learned how colored pencils are made. We have seen all of the different types of layering and blending and stippling and hatching and cross-hatching and blending and scrumbling and back and forth. So I'll begin with, normally when you're doing colored pencils, it's good to have a little texture to your paper because actually the pencil grabs onto those little bumps. So I thought I would do an experiment with sandpaper, a scrubber sponge, and a nail file or emery board. You can hear they are scratchy. So what I did is I did these on this paper. I rubbed my scrubber sponge and I did my nail file. You can actually hear it, and I could feel where the paper was up, and I could also feel the little messes. So make sure you have something, if you choose to do this, to catch your little schmutzies that fall. And then the sandpaper, of course, would work best, but you can just tell by the sound. So when you're doing that, I can actually see the paper being lifted up. All right, once again, this will give you the most mess. When you're using your pencil over it, you'll see that it'll grab it better. Each one is different. This one, the nail file seems, if you look, to just grab it in certain spots. So it must just lift the paper up in a different way. Scrubber sponge, not so much. So I would suggest maybe going over and over and over it again. This is a piece of watercolor paper. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but there are bumps on it. And you'll even hear by the sound of this that it'll pick it up. You can actually see the little white areas in between it. That's what we're talking about. It grabs the pencil because remember there's a little bit of binder in here and it'll grab onto that binder. So if you have watercolor paper, that's great. If not, I say get something out, try to rough up your paper and see what happens. Experimenting is half the fun of art. Now, today's lesson is pretty much me showing you the different ways to become familiar with your colored pencils. Everyone knows how to color, but there are certain ways to create texture and depth and things in your artwork when you know how to use a colored pencil properly. I'm just going to use the basic ones. Take my regular pencil out. We've got the primary colors, now we do, and we've got the secondary colors. And we'll talk about these next class, and I kind of got a surprise about that because I was surprised about that too. So we'll start out with purple. Let's start out with back and forth. Back and forth is how we always color, and here's my bumper out. It's like I just put my bumper out just naturally. So back and forth, the different pressure, I'm pushing harder, and you can see the color deepens. Because these are softer than a regular pencil, if you push too hard, you'll just snap that tip off. Keep your sharpener handy because you're going to be sharpening these quite a bit. Now, you can do any direction, back and forth. Notice I am not lifting my pencil. This is basic coloring. We'll put a little red in there. Now you can also do it like this if you're doing a sky and you want to have the clouds. And I've got my finger on it. It gives you much more control. I've told you before, grab, twist it, and put your finger on there. And you're also sharpening your own pencils to a very fine tip. So now that we have our blending, we'll go into layering, which is pretty much blending and then putting one color over another. I love this. I'm going to do the orange again. And again, I have several pieces of paper to cushion. It makes it much easier. Let's see if we can change the color of this by layering it. I'll just do sort of like a rainbow. We'll do yellow over orange. We'll do red over orange. That doesn't change it very much, does it? So, to see if we can create a color, I'm going to take the orange again and go over that. Every time you go over, you're going to change the hue, the tone. Let's try blue. Unusual. Almost a purple because orange has red in it. So our layering is fun, and you're going to do it. You can also hold your pencil regular. You're going to get a deeper line. Let's try a yellow over this. What do you think? It's probably going to come some muddy color. Oh, no? All right, everyone, give this color a name. Ooh. It's very unusual. Yellow purple, that's the best I've got. So let's try a little green over it. You almost lose the purple, but you are getting almost an aquamarine color. So let's see if I go... I just obliterated or took out the green by doing that. This is why you need to practice. Every time you do something, it's going to create something. Oh, it doesn't look so bad now. And remember, artwork is to be looked at far away. Look, this almost looks light blue to me now that I'm looking at it. Every time you layer a color, it's going to become something different. Let's try red again. Put heavy red. Then I'm going to put green and blue. Green is a complementary color, so it should darken it quite a bit. Okay. And then I'm going to go light. Try all colors. I know these are just the basic colors. We're getting a little purple action here. Nice. So when you turn it around and look at it in different ways, you've got your back and forth, your layering, which is back and forth over back and forth pretty much. So what I'm going to do is flip my paper over because this is practice and we don't want to just waste all the paper. Blending. Oh, this one's fun. I've got some fun stuff for this one. This is just regular old hand lotion. Because these do have a little bit of binders and sometimes it's an oil, if you get a little bit of this on your finger, it really makes the blending process the easiest. You can use a makeup sponge, which works very well. You can see I tried it and I got different colors on it. You can use one of our favorite handmade tools, some cotton swabs taped together, and you can see again a different color. That's not a standard color, and I used it twice. And then they do have these talions, which you can buy. Generally, they're used in pencil drawing and pastels. They will blend it. I will show you. And then you can actually sharpen them to get that off. It's kind of neat. So I've got my tools. Let me put them in front of me so that when I want them, I can just grab them. And then I have my erasers. Colored pencils can be erased. And you can also blend with them. Blending. Let's take a dark color. In this, you'd have to put a lot more of the pencil down. You need something to actually blend or push from one side to the other. Put a red over it. All right. 10-1. And then actually I'm going to put, I lost my blue. Here it is. Some blue over here too. Let's see if we can get some really cool colors. Let's try the lotion first. Now, this is plenty of lotion. And if it's like this, I rub it on my hand to get it smooth. And ready? See how it blends? I always call it smudging. It smudges. When you blend, you will also dull the color a little bit. You're going to lose that crispness that you get from a straight drawing. Okay, let's try something new. You ready for these? Let's try the orange. Ooh, nice and deep. Different colored pencils have different quality to them. Some of them are richer, like this one. Let's just put a yellow over it and see. I don't think that's going to work real well, but we're going to try it anyway. Once again, Miss Linda is speed coloring so that you don't have to sit here. So let's try it. I'm going to hold these. Oh, look at that. I was totally wrong. It works fine. Now, you're going to see that you get the actual design of that. Go back and forth to get rid of it. Smudging. There's a couple of them that are my favorite. I do like this blending. All right, what we have not used the makeup sponge. This is a really tight sponge. It reminds me of that fun foam or that magic foam that you can buy. So what color haven't I used? Let's do green. And let's try to make an aquamarine color. We'll put some blue over that. All right, we'll take our sponge and rub. Not as bright as I would like it. And then one more with the Talion, which is used. I use them primarily with pastels. And actually, this is my favorite too, all of them. I'll take my finger over any of them. I did red last time. Let's put orange over it. And let's blend. See, this one takes wider, longer pieces. And actually, it turns almost into a brownish gray color. That's very, very interesting. All right, stippling. This is Miss Linda's least favorite. Just because it takes a lot of time. You're going to take pencils and literally you're going to be going in little tiny dots everywhere. The closer the dots, the darker the color. And again, remember, you're going to be viewing this from a distance. So this looks, I don't know, unnecessary. Let's put it that way. But there's going to be tight areas where you don't want to just color it in. You just want a hint of color. So you will use this stippling. And I could do this all day, but you will see a picture. You've seen the picture of it before I've done this. So now you'll know how long it took me to make that little design. It's just dot, 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 dot. And then another one of Miss Linda's favorite. Well, actually two. These are together, but the second one really ties everything in. I use this method quite a bit when I'm doing things. So this is called hatching. And remember, blending, we didn't take our hands off the paper. With hatching, you have to lift your hand off every single time. It's basically drawing lines. Now, doing grass or something like that, you know you're going to need this. But the second form of this, and this you use, oh, thank goodness I got that nice sharp tip on there. Again, take your time. You become comfortable enough to do it quickly and feel free to. But until you are, and this is like my guide as well as my bumper today. Kind of pointing where I want to go. All right, that is hatching. Cross hatching is my favorite. You're going to be going one way, turn your paper, come another way. I love the sound of a pencil on a paper. Let's throw a little purple in there. Now we're going this way and this way. So I'm going to try to create a different angle on this. And I'll do it far away. And the closer I get, the deeper the color is going to get. This is also used with a regular pencil when you're doing artwork. It creates depth and volume depending on where you put it. See how it's sort of rounded right there? I love to cross hatch. I'm going to do it one more time just because I like to do it. And I know you will too. Purple. I'm going to try to round this one for you. Just because cross-hatching is one line over the other does not mean that you cannot bend those lines. These are a little bent, so I'm going to go in the opposite direction, kind of like our cross-contour drawing that we did. Start rounding these lines out. Lift your pencil every time. Lift your pencil every time. You just chant that to yourself. Maybe a little bit of blue, and we're going to try to round this out. All right, let's try it. Now it's starting to look like a cylinder, like it's a whole shape. Each one of these is going to give you something new for your artwork. And my all-time favorite, and a very strange word, it's called scrumbling. Scrumbling is basically just doing large circles. I explained all of this to you in the beginning. It's a little hard to understand until you see it. This is obviously wide scrumbling. You can use this for the background. I'm going to show you, and actually you saw it in the picture before this, that I almost made our little fern frond. That's it, furling fern frond. I did it. It reminded me of it. And this actually kind of looks like a rabbit. Seriously, look, I'll put a tail and ears and it's a rabbit. Okay. Told you, Miss Linda sees stuff in everything. And if you want to do things tight, you're going to go super tight. And even though you're scrumbling, you can still layer over this to create, say, the center of a flower. Every time you do this, look to see what it's creating. See what it is. This is, say you're doing the sky, or let's say the grass, because I pulled up green, and you want a lot of green, but you don't want to just do the back and forth method. We know grass doesn't grow in one direction, so you're going to go doing your scrumbling in different directions. Now I'm lightly doing it. I always say to start out with a light touch because you can always go darker. But once that dark is on, it's on. Put a little bit of blue in this. See how it starts to create? Say the bottom part of a beautiful picture. I can make this into a sun now and make that into a cloud and not a rabbit. So scrumbling, do it tiny. And this is what I did before. It almost looks like a worm. But then when you go over the top of it, you're creating roundness. Like I said, depth, volume. And I'm going to go dark now. Watch what happens. That's going to, oh, this is starting to look like an avocado. Let's make an avocado. All right. I am going to teach all of you to be able to look at things and see something. And you're going to be so happy because nothing like having your imagination getting woken up like 25 times a day. There we go. So it's not only just for backgrounds. You can actually create your subject or the object. Okay, I have to stop because this is my favorite. I'm going to use a little bit of brown just to show you by adding layering over your scrumbling, we're going to get that avocado shape because we know that the bottom of an avocado is a little bit bigger. And or circle, circles. It's going to be to where your hand's going to want to go back and forth just because this is not a natural way. All right, let's get this rounded out. Just want you to see that you can create volume and shape with the simplest of movements with your hand. And again, do it over and over and over again. I need a little bit more green and then we'll be done with this. I would appreciate if each one of you would do at least a full sheet. And if you're doing it and you do see something in there, it's called automatic drawing. Turn it into it, please. Don't just say, okay, I've done my back and forth, I'm done. I'm going to look at my back and forth and think it looks like the side of a mountain and make it into a mountain. And then maybe when I'm done with my practice, I can go over and layer over that and make it into a mountain. So don't stop with just practicing. Go back and look and see what your eyes can tell you to do. So did you all find your favorite techniques of using your colored pencils? I'm sure one will make you feel more comfortable than the other. And that might be the one that you put off to the side, and then you try the ones that make you a little uncomfortable. I will not hold you to doing the stippling over and over again. Once you get to that, you use it in tiny spots anyway. But, you know, scrumble away, hatch away, cross hatch away. Use all the layering techniques. Keep doing it until you're comfortable. And again, if you need to step away from it, go ahead. Come back to it. Just don't forget to make yourself happy with it, because that's the most important. You're the one who has to like what you're doing. So be kind, teach someone else this lesson, and I will see you next class. Bye.